Business growth is a sequence of S curves. You see growth and you flatten out. And then you have to reinvent yourself, you have to reinvent the company as you scale from the one orbit to the next and the next. Being at about half a dozen convocations in the last 6 months. And I'm very excited in a sense that, you have these young kids who are just graduating and they're entering into either the big bad world or something different. And it's a chance to really share some ideas with them. We are not going to be short of work, we are going to be short of jobs. Layoffs, will they happen? I think more and more layoffs will happen. But I think people will also concurrently be hiring other people as well. One of the risks that I find with AI right now is the fact that it is widening the divide in some sense, the haves and the have-nots.
So hearty welcome to everyone to this podcast, which I'm absolutely delighted to have with Mr. Anand Deshpande, Chairperson of Persistent Systems. It's a joy to be here with him. I'm an admirer, Anand, of your work, the way you have brought Persistent up, and the way you have busted boundaries and created new paradigms. So what are you doing these days? Let's start with that. What's up?
Thanks, Arun, for inviting me to this podcast. I guess we are in a mutual admiration society here. I've known your work for nearly 30 years and I've always seen you as one who has been guiding people like us.
Thank you.
To follow the right path in a way. And thanks for what you have done. And we have worked with you in the past as well. So almost since 2019, I moved off from being the CEO of the company to being a chairman. So I have a person, Sandeep Kalra, who runs the business. So I've had time to look at other things as well. And I was sort of looking at my 30 years of having run Persistent and saying, what would my next 30 look like? And I was trying to think about other things to look at. So right now I have been spending my time in 3 broad categories. One set is around entrepreneurship. And I run a program along with the family members on something we call the Asra Foundation, where we work with businesses that are really small. We call them nano entrepreneurs, typically those between 10 lakh rupees a year to about 1 crore of rupees a year. And you'd be surprised, but lots of Indian businesses actually are in this category, me and my 5 people type stuff.
Right.
And then I run another program along with your friend Ashok Korwar, where we focus on something called second orbit. I believe that business growth is a sequence of S curves.
Right.
So you do certain things, you see growth and you flatten out. And then you have to reinvent yourself, you have to reinvent the company as you scale from the one orbit to the next and the next. And we have a course now for this transition between the first and the second orbit. So that's the other activity that I've been going on. I've been spending a lot of time on science, AI, tech, data. Those are my technical calling and I continue to be active in those. I'm currently working with the government around the Department of Biotechnology on specifically the Biotechnology Research Innovation Council.
Right.
So that's again somewhat new things for me and I'm learning biology and trying to see how that may be relevant. And then, as I was sharing with you, I've been thinking a lot about careers, managing careers, young people, those kinds of things. And as I shared, last few months, I somehow have gotten into this convocation circuit. So I've had the opportunity of being at about half a dozen convocations in the last 6 months. And I'm very excited in a sense that, you have these young kids who are just graduating from college and they're entering into either the big bad world or something different. And it's a chance to really share some ideas with them.
Wonderful. Lovely to hear this because I don't think we could have asked for a better person to discuss the theme of the podcast, which is from turbulence to trust. How do you anchor people and create value in times of great adversity and uncertainty? So let me start by asking you, if you had to frame all the turbulence that's going on in the world today, how would you really look at it?
See, I think world turbulence is very hard for me to frame. Every day we have something new coming up.
Yes.
But let me focus this at a long-term view from the point of view of these young students I meet who are graduating right now. And I try to help them frame their world in terms of 4 broad themes. So first being the fact that, when someone who is graduating today, they are in their early 20s. And thanks to modern medicine and longevity and all the other science discoveries that I think are imminent in the next few years, I believe these kids will live past 100. And real excitement is going to be that they will live like they are 40 for 50 years. So the elongation will not only happen at the end, but will happen at the real productive period, which is very exciting in some sense. Consequence of that is that anybody who graduates in 25 is going to work for at least 60 more years till 2085. Mm-hmm. And this itself is quite interesting for people to realize, because the immediate tasks that they've been told by their parents is first job, right? And the first job is only going to take you so far when you have a 60-year career. So that's one thing I tell people. Second thing I mention to people is that India is already the 4th largest economy by GDP. We'll get to 3rd. But if we want to get into 1 and 2, which is important for us as a country, because that's sort of when we will see the percolation of wealth and everyone starting to feel like we are not unevenly distributed. So per capita income needs to go up. And for that, we need to do something fantastic with technology and science. And these young people who are in their 20s, they have to not just follow the boundary or the box that you mentioned, but break that box and look at new things, because otherwise we are not going to make it. Third thing I find is that if you look at the technology roadmap, and it's very hard to see what's coming in the future, but if you look at the last few years, you can easily see that we are in a technological exponential curve in some sense. So things are changing very rapidly. And the consequence of that is that if I'm in a career that is going to start from 2025 to 2085, I have no idea what is going to be relevant 10 years from now, 5 years from now. So the only way you stay relevant is if you can figure it out when you get that point, right? And learn on an ongoing basis so that I can survive the changes that are happening. Like you said,
yes.
we are in a turbulent world. I don't see that changing. I think it's going to get more turbulent as it gets along, but that doesn't mean we cannot navigate it. And what can we do now so that we can navigate that, right? And the last thing I tell people is that the future of work is changing dramatically. Yes. I think this whole concept that you will join a job and work for 60 years is not going to happen. Most companies will not last 60 years. So life of companies is getting shorter. So you are going to see situations where you'll get cut and all of that. And the fact is that, we are heading into some form of a gig world where you will work with many different things concurrently, many jobs concurrently, many kinds of people concurrently. And it's going to be a highly networked world, and how we network with each other and how we connect with each other is going to be very critical, because our survival will depend on each other in some form or the other. While on one side, we are thinking about our current job, the job in that context is only short-lived. What is going to live long is who we know and how we know them.
Excellent, excellent. In fact, that reminds me of a story, the redwoods in the western coast of the United States are very, very tall.
Yes.
Even 400 feet and more. But when the storms come, they do not collapse. They have very shallow roots. And the reason they don't collapse is because the roots of the redwoods are all intertwined. They form a lattice under the ground. So when the storm comes, that lattice holds everything together. So I was reminded of that, when we are talking about gig economy, yes. I was reminded of the network, the resilience of a community. But also, Anand, from the business viewpoint, there's a lot of mistrust in people about, I'll get laid off, they're just going to throw me out or things like that. So how do we, firstly, why is trust important? Why do we have to have very good trust in this network, in this system?
I think you already alluded to it in a way, is that when you mentioned the redwoods and your example was absolutely fantastic, it's very clear that the network of roots is what is holding you back. And if you are dependent on other people, you need to feel good about working with them and working together. And that is where trust comes in, right? That is really the most fundamental and the first thing that people do is, if I have to work with someone, I have to do something with you, I would do it only if I trust you. So that's what becomes very relevant. Now, going back to your points about layoffs and other kinds of things, I have been telling people that we are not going to be short of work, we are going to be short of jobs. And this responsibility of converting work to jobs belongs to me. And for companies as well, while companies grow, they will need different kinds of people through this journey. And I mentioned the orbits that I talked about. At every orbit, you need different skills, different kinds of people, and different kinds of context. And people need to make that shift. And if you can, if you're doing the right things and all that, why wouldn't the company trust you to be part of that change and that journey, right? So I think it's a mutual thing. Both parties need to feel like it's good for both of them that they continue with what needs to happen. So layoffs, will they happen? I think more and more layoffs will happen. But I think people will also concurrently be hiring other people as well. So it's going to be a little bit of a dynamic situation. You're hiring some, you're letting some go. But in this thing, it is traumatic for individuals for sure. I don't want to underestimate the complexity that it creates. But I think the best way for people to survive these is to make sure that they are learning enough, they have the right skills, and they're continuously keeping their skills up to date so that when they are needed to find something new, they know how to go about doing it.
And in this, I think it's very important for people to find out what are their superpowers, what is their niche, what are their strengths, because otherwise, if I'm a tulip and I try to be a sunflower, it's not going to get me anywhere in the gig economy. And you mentioned when we were speaking about the me economy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So the
you mentioned this beautiful book.
Is your strength. You are the one who you have been one of those who have been helping people find their own superpowers, right?
Yes.
Meaning all of us, as you say this very eloquently, every one of us has our own superpowers. Most of the times we don't know what our superpowers are. But let me get back to the other part of the question when you talked about it. I was sharing with you that I have a friend, a gentleman called Ashok Shah.
Yes.
So he's based in the US and he has been consulting and the senior person. And he had written a book a few years back, which really influenced my thinking about culture and other things within the company. And his book is called Me Enterprise. I'm responsible for my own enterprise. And when I'm working with someone, I'm basically providing a service to my company or whatever else. It's a conceptual framing in a way, but it really helps everyone to feel empowered to say that, I am responsible for my own life and my career in some form or the other. And what that did to us at Persistent was to say that if everyone in the company is responsible for their own life and career, and we want them to work with us for their life and career, then we must provide enough things for people to build their own life and career and not be restricted to only what we need from them in our context. So that has helped us a lot in terms of thinking about how we must empower the employees and give them the access to tools and techniques so that they can keep building themselves, of course, in the context of what we do, but even beyond that.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I think this is a beautifully futuristic way of looking at work, and I think that's the way forward for sure. I just want to ask you one simple question, which is, how do you get people to find those attitudes within where you say, okay, I am the master of my own destiny? Because Anand, what I'm seeing in India especially is a huge amount of passivity. It's like the organization has to teach me, the organization has to help me and so on, Whereas what you are speaking about is self-motivation, like if it is to be, it's up to me. Take charge of your life very strongly. How do you make this attitudinal shift?
Sometimes what's happening is that circumstances are going to force people to be shaken up in a way. So right now, for example, if you look at a lot of the young people who are coming out of colleges, finding jobs is not very easy, right? So when you realize a situation that nobody's going to come and give me a job just because I've spent 4 years in college, then I start to think about what should I do so that I can make a living, I can keep doing new things and all that. And the bright ones or those who get it realize that there are many avenues and opportunities. As I've been telling a lot of people that there is no shortage of work. There is enough work to do. It's just that there are not jobs.
Jobs. Right. And I think getting out of this frame that, I have to have a job and somebody will give me a job and then I'll get paid for it, to
Yeah, this entitlement culture that we are used to
absolutely, and
needs to
moving
move
away
on.
from that to what you're saying is micro entrepreneurship, that I'm in the me economy. I'm the CEO of my own life, right? And I have to think like a CEO. I've got to invest in myself. I've got to keep growing and deliver value. Because it's not that, just because I have a job, I'm delivering value. That may or may not happen. But if I have to constantly think, how am I delivering value? How am I serving people? That is the shift I hear you saying.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you said it very nicely, actually. I think we are heading into a world of abundance in different ways. And I think this will create where the young people or people at large will have an opportunity to decide and prioritize what choices they want to make for their own life. And you are your CEO and you can make your own choices. The only thing I would sort of put in this context is that yes, you make choices, you can make your own choices, but every choice you make has consequences. So as long as you are willing to, you have the freedom to make choices, but when you make your choices, you have to accept the consequences.
Absolutely.
You can't not accept that, right?
Yeah. So as a very inspiring business leader, I have a question for you, which is, in the Native American Indian language, there is no word for ownership. So when the white people came to America, they said, whose land is this? Who owns this land? They said, what do you mean own? This is land and it's our mother. So when we move towards the gig economy and networks and interdependencies and all that, we would probably have to move towards stewardship rather than ownership. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, very, very profound actually. So again, the world is getting very complex. You have environment, you have all these other areas there. And I think as business leaders, we have to sort of think of ourselves as stewards of the ecosystem and the environment and the business and everything else, and the wealth as well.
Created, yeah.
And ensure that it is, at the end of it, you only need so much, right? As long as you have what you have, you should imagine that what is available is to be put to good use in some form or the other. And it's not just you deciding it. It's an ecosystem, it's the network, the trust that we create. That's all creating all of those things.
And I think one of the questions that has bothered me or kept me awake is that in order to move towards the kind of world that you're describing, we need excellent governance. How can we facilitate a shift to a more transparent, more wholesome, more integral governance in India and elsewhere?
I think good point. I think good governance starts with self-governance in a way. So if everyone is well governed, in a sense, a lot of you'll already feel like there is better governance.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So if we all followed
indeed.
the traffic rules, you will not see chaos on the road, right?
What is your view on how AI can really help us to co-create the kind of vision you have for work and organizations and this networked economy?
So it's a big problem question that you are asking. But so I have, of course, AI is fascinating, and I've been. So let me give you six claims or thoughts that I've been sharing in terms of AI. AI is going to come into every part of our life, whether it is. So it's going to be as ubiquitous in some sense as the mobile phone or the internet. And everyone will have access to intelligence. And that is quite fascinating. This allows every school kid to have the ability to do personalized learning and all of those kinds of things. So yeah, meaning there is a lot that can happen because of AI. Second thing I would mention is that we are still at the beginning of AI. While AI is already doing fascinating things, I think the techniques or the algorithms that have been built for AI can be very nicely rolled on many different related things. So I'm quite fascinated by what AI is going to be doing, both in terms of what AI can do, but also how much can be done to use what we have learned from AI so far to apply to new problems that might come up. Right? So that will be my second thing. The third thing I believe is that AI is going to write better code than humans. And this is the case today. It'll write better text, it'll write better stories, so all kinds of things. So humans should not try to just compete with AI. They have to leverage AI. So that's the important corollary out of that I think people need to do. The next thing I find is that, in the AI context, there's a lot of buzz right now about agentic AI. So these are AI agents which are tasked with a specific things, and they can coordinate work across each other, and many things can happen. So there is a lot of automation that will happen because of these agentic AI, and it's going to improve a lot of the work that we talk about in the future will get done by AI agents. The number 5 thing is that, one of the risks that I find with AI right now is the fact that it is widening the divide in some sense, the haves and the have-nots. That spread is getting wider and wider. And this is true if you think about it. We have about, say, 10 companies whose who are controlling AI across the world in a way. And countries with AI, without AI. We say that, every school kid in small rural India should have AI, but how is it going to happen? How do we make sure that happen, people at light levels have access? Right. So this whole digital divide, or the haves and have-nots getting broader, that's something I worry about. And finally, AI is like a rope, right? It can do crazy things as well. So how do we protect ourselves against the bad things about AI is kind of something that I worry about quite a bit.
Somewhere I read, AI is like a dragon. Yes. So if you just stand there and do nothing, it'll probably eat you up. If you ignore it, then it ignores you. But if you can ride the dragon and tame the dragon and really get your own control over AI, it can be extremely productive. I just wanted to ask you one simple question, which is, I've asked you many, but one more. Some people play within boundaries. Within the boundaries of how business is done, here's a job, okay, we got to worry about retention, we got to worry about attracting people, but you have completely changed the paradigm in what you have shared. You're actually playing with the boundaries. You're not playing in the boundaries. You're literally rewriting the canvas of business. So I just want to ask you a personal question. Where do you get this inspiration from? And the courage, more than the inspiration, I think the courage and persistence to just redraw the maps. Very, very exciting. So what's the secret sauce, Anand?
It's a hard question. Few things I can mention. One, of course, is the fact that, I really believe, and this particular observation of the fact that my realization that, whatever you do will not remain there forever, and unless you reinvent yourselves, you will pretty much wither away, right? So that is a very humbling experience in many ways, right? So you may feel like you're at the top of your gig, or you're doing whatever you think is the best within your context or your boundary, like you pointed out. But the fact that that's not going to help, because these boundaries cannot survive like that, and you have to reinvent yourselves all the time, right? So that realization is both empowering and it also puts you on the back foot, because you know that unless you learn and do something about it, you will never be able to get to the next point, right? So that's been something that I've found at Persistent as well, right? We could have stayed a small business. Things were not bad, but then we would not have survived as well, right? Meaning the world just conspires to kind of eat you up, and you have to keep reinventing yourselves, right? Should I say, I'm usually very well thought through and calculated. I'm not the one who just would jump from the top of the amount. I'm not the very brave, adventurous, go jump crazy. I evaluate, measure, and essentially eliminate risks, and then take very cautious steps. But I do think about all the time that you have to do something and you have to take steps. But so I'm very thoughtful in what I do in some of these things.
Yeah, and persistent also.
Yes.
I think that the very
No,
name
that is
itself.
very clear, and that's one thing that as you would agree that we all have good days, bad days, whatever, things keep going on, is those who come back the next day are the ones who succeed, right? And if you look at athletes, you can see that if it's very easy to give up, right? But you know that a new day is a new day and you start again.
Start again. Wonderful. So just to, I mean, it's been amazingly, what shall I say, inspiring for me to listen to you, Anand, and thank you for sharing all that. Just to summarize the whole thing, if we had to tune in onto 3 or 4 anchors that can help people to move through this turbulence with trust, with faith in themselves, to keep delivering value, what are the 3 or 4 nuggets that we can leave with people from this podcast?
So as I said, we are in turbulent times for sure, and you can't control that. So you have to figure out how to navigate through this. So one thing I tell people is that you should have a dream, you should have an aspiration. Because it's very easy to sort of fall back and say everything is going wrong and nothing is going to work, so I shut my shop, right? You have to have that mountain, you have to have some purpose. Where are you headed, right? And if you can create that dream and excitement, then that is what takes you to work hard or do something about it, right? If you just sort of assume that nothing is to be done, then there's nothing left in life, right?
Right.
So creating that, zeal, enthusiasm, some goal,
some kind of a vision of
vision, some painted picture, as we call it, something you need to do. So that's one. Yeah. Second thing is that we are living in a world where unless you learn to learn and you are continuously learning, there is no hope, right? Meaning you will never survive because it's just the way it is, right? So we don't know what's going to be needed in 2035, and we're going to know only in 2034. So we need to be learning all the time. And so that'd be the second important thing. The third important thing that is kind of relevant here is teamwork, right? Nothing can be done alone now. We are going to, even with AI, your wonderful analogy of the redwoods and the fact that the trees hold together because of the network. It's going to come because of the friends that we have, the people network, we know, the people who know us. And why does the network help? Network helps you because you are helping the network. So if you give, you will get back.
Absolutely, very true.
So that is sort of where, this teamwork and trust and the stuff that you talk about.
Abundance, as you mentioned, that's the heart of abundance. Giving is receiving.
Correct. So that'd be the number 3 thing. How do you work teams out? And in teams, giving in teams is like the best way to build a team. Right. And the number 4 thing I would say, and you already alluded to this as to how do you build your own personal value compass, right? I need to have my own compass that's guiding me to do what I need to do. And then finally, I think being persistent is the key to success. So that would be my 5 ideas that I would leave with.
And may I add one more?
Absolutely.
And see, many times when we are in business or in life, we forget the awesome intelligence that runs all of life. Like, for example, in our gut, there are 10 trillion bacteria working on the immune system and working on my mental health and all that. But, we forget sometimes, Anand. So I would just add that in addition to these 5 wonderful points that you said, if we can also get people to remember the awesome intelligence that runs all of nature, all of life, with extraordinary precision, with extraordinary value creation. I think it would build on the 5, and all these 6 taken together would help us to navigate turbulence, master it, move to the next stage, and co-create a world that works for all. And any parting comments or last words before we wind?
I want to wish you all the very best, and I think Pragati Learning has been a partner of ours for more than 25 years, and you've helped us through our journey as well. So really appreciate what you have done for us and for other companies like us in the community. I think your contribution in building individuals has been a very important part of the community. So thanks for what you do, and I want to wish you personally and
thank you,
Pragati family, all the very best.
Thank you, and look forward to co-creating the next S-curve with you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Anand. It's been such a pleasure, real pleasure interacting with you. I'm grateful for your time, and you have shifted my boundaries. And I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.